Children today face a warming planet and waning lifespans. With obesity and medication rates soaring, they could be the first modern generation to live fewer years than their parents. At the core of the issue is a worrying trend. The average American child spends nearly 7 hours a day in front of a screen, and only about 5 minutes playing free outside, learning to love the planet they'll need to someday protect. But there is an emerging community of millennial families using the very technologies that threaten to separate them from nature to connect with it and each other instead. The new social media influencer isn't a rock star or a Kardashian. It's a mom.
I was really worried about losing this lifestyle. I didn't really know how to be a mom. I was 30 years old. I spent my whole life being really selfish. I had a lot of anxiety and fear and stress and being in a marriage that I didn't know if it was going to work out and just wanting to have the very best home for my kid. I remember at 4 days old with Huck, just walking very, very slowly. I just remember seeing this perfect baby and being outside with him and just knowing that that needed to be a part of his life because it was such a part of the answer for me about who I was. There's no way I can do half of what I do without some help. I mean, all the time when I go climbing, friends help hold Huck, they help chase him down, they help pull rocks out of his mouth. The community is everything when you're a single mom.
I am from a city environment, and I had to get out of it. It was too much, and especially with raising a family, I didn't want to raise them like that. When you're out here, everything just slows down, even like the speed limit. I can watch my kids get stressed out and overwhelmed in our little house and being cooped up, and I'll get the momentum and the courage to be like, okay, let's wrangle you guys up, let's go play. And by the time we get out there, and it's just almost immediate, the smiles that come out and the level of calmness. I bring my kids to the wilderness because I think it's the best teacher in the world.
As a species, it's more natural for us to spend more time outside, and we have gotten over a long period of time disconnected with that, almost afraid to experience the wild. It can be scary, a scary place. You get washed out by the ocean, that's terrifying. But playing on the beach is really something that you can't duplicate.
No, the bad wolves, they want to attack us. What? Yeah, so we need to get...
Parents nowadays are so afraid to let their kids be independent. They can't climb trees because it's too dangerous, so they can't play in the dirt because there's germs, they'll get too dirty. But all that stuff it's really important, and I feel like kids are kind of being robbed of that and being sat in front of a TV where it's safe. Spending more time with Hadley was definitely the biggest factor in quitting my job and buying this trailer and hitting the road. No plan. I remember sitting at work and I calculated how many hours a week I got to spend with her. And it was heartbreaking. Someone else is raising my kid. We sold all of our stuff except for what we could bring. That got us some good money. And luckily we were able to actually pick up a summer job with GoPro. So that kind of really pushed the dream to happen. We are living so simply now, and our cost to do this is really not that much. I could pick up a bartending job for a month. somewhere, and we could just keep going forever and ever and ever. It's so awesome.
The river next to it, and so many trees.
So ultimately, that's really what I want to teach Hadley, is to follow any kind of dream as we are. You know, whether that's being, I mean, I can go off on a list of things that she could be, but it's all great. You know, she doesn't have to be a rock climber if she doesn't want to. I would love that, but she can pursue anything she wants to pursue, and I know that she'll be good at it because she believes in herself.
I have so much to learn from Hadley, and that is why I believe the universe gave me Hadley.
We've just put her in an environment where she gets to utilize these resources. And so naturally, she is growing up to love these wild areas as kind of a second home. You know, Hadley will grow up and be, who knows, maybe she'll get into politics and she'll be able to make these kind of decisions to protect some of our land. And I mean, I hope she doesn't become a politician. That would be brutal. I don't know what I would do with that. She could. I mean, she definitely argues and she's very opinionated, so she could, but hopefully she's one of the good ones, right? Like Hadley for president. She would save the planet.
That sense of community, I think, is the most inspiring thing, is just knowing that you're not alone and that there's people willing to back you up and people that want to see you do these things with your kids.
I think social media plays a great effect on that and bringing moms and parents together. Shannon and I and Brooke and I have all been following each other on Instagram for years. You're able to peek into so many different people's lifestyles and see that there are so many other families doing this same thing.
We all have something to learn and something to give and something to take from seeing the way everybody else does it.
And Sky.
It might actually, yeah, we could give him a little man bun. I always have to remind myself to set down the camera sometimes because I do want to capture every single moment. I think it's so great what we're doing with her, and she's adorable. So every little thing that she's doing outside, I feel like I want to capture it, but it's really important to also remember to be there in the moment and set down the camera.
The community that we've built, it's been so rad, and I'm so grateful.
A lot of my closest friends right now I met on social media. In fact, Caroline and I met on Instagram.
I remember one of the first times we hung out, we went climbing together, and I was kind of nervous about it, like felt a little bit intimidated. But once we got together, I didn't feel that at all. There wasn't that competition, and I think that's really important in female friendships, to be able to find that friend that's really just a cheerleader and someone that you admire and someone that really pushes you to be your best. And I always had that with her. She is like the root of my tree. Like, she's my biggest supporter behind the scenes.
We've been doing stuff since Huck was in utero. Some of our outings have been more successful than others. But overall, when Brooke got pregnant, we made this pact that we would continue to be friends and do things. And even when Huck is crying, I was like, I don't mind. We can still do all our adventures and have a great time.
I think it can unfortunately be a really unpopular and looked down upon attitude to acknowledge that you're receiving help and you're receiving support. But I mean, ultimately, we all do, all the time.
Honestly, me and Huck couldn't live the life we lived without a lot of support, not just knowing we have a safety net from family. You know, I'm really grateful for this privilege, and I think a lot of that, you know, you need to give back.
You got one. Okay.
It just takes you back to your roots. I think that being in the wilderness, everything slows down, and you get a better picture of what really matters.
I hadn't really thought about recycling very much or wind power or alternative power sources until I started to get outside. And part of that was from the community, but another part was you find these corners of the earth that are so sacred to you. That has even deepened more as I've had a child, where I want to preserve that for him.
At 4 years old, she's already a little earth crusader. She will not hesitate to call you out for putting trash on the ground. Even if you had intentions on throwing it away later anyways, she will call you out and she will tell you that that hurts Mother Earth. She really loves our planet. We want her to love it so much that her and her generation and generations after her fight to protect it.
This is the best learning for her. She's meeting different kids like every single day and socializing with people from all over the world and hearing their stories, and this is so much better than a classroom.
I want to teach my little boy that he's part of receiving and he's part of giving, and that real happiness comes when you are helping other people.
It's really amazing being able to experience these wild places through the eyes of a child.
And so it's cool to be able to share these stories and be an inspiration to people. But I definitely don't see myself as some special role model. I think that what we do, anybody could do.
This is a story about a handful of parents taking their kids back into the wilderness. It's a simple story, a quiet revolution of soft footsteps along an ancient path. The way in which we share the world with our children is an important choice, one that impacts not only their health, but that of the planet they'll inherit. Every adventure you take, every mountain you climb, every story you live and share, you create a path for others to follow. Where will yours lead?
Go down and say your piece.